Nevadans still breathe it into ourselves today. They say it got to Himmel particularly, stuck to his blueprints, his clothing, formed a microscopic layer of silver dust on his skin. Glinting silver film or no, after his divorce was finalized, Himmel moved in with Leopold Karpeles, editor of the B'nai B'rith Messenger. Their relationship was rumored a tumultuous one, modeled with abuse and infidelity. Still, they lived together until 1932, when the two burned to death in a fire at Karpeles's home, smoke rising from the house smelling like those miners boiled alive up in Virginia City mine shafts. Or here. Here is as good a place as any. In March 1941, George Spahn, a dairyman and amateur beekeeper from Pennsylvania, signed over the deed to his 60-acre farm to his son, Henry, packed 4 suitcases, his wife, Helen, and their old, foul-tempered calico cat, Bottles, into the car, and drove west to California, to the ocean. He was to retire, bow out of the ranching business, bury his tired feet in the warm western sand, but retirement didn't suit George. After 2 months, he came home to their ticky-tacky rental on the beach and presented Helen with plans to buy a 511-acre ranch at 1200 Santa Susana Pass Road in the Santa Susana Mountains. The ranch was up for sale by its owner, the aging silent film star William S. Hart. The Santa Susana Mountains are drier than the more picturesque Santa Monica Mountains that line the California coast. Because they are not privy to the moist winds rolling in off the sea, they're susceptible to fires. 1200 Santa Susana Pass Road is tucked up in the Santa Susanas, north of Los Angeles, off what is now called the Ronald Reagan Freeway. Back in 1941, when George was persuading Helen to move again, taking her knobby hand in his, begging her to uproot the tendrils she'd so far managed to anchor into the loose beige sand of Manhattan Beach, just a bit east this time, Sweet Pea. The city of Chatsworth was little more than a Baptist church, a dirt-clogged filling station, and the Palomino Horse Association's main stables, birthplace of Mr. Ed. Years later, in 1961, my father, still a boy, would start a wildfire in the hills above the PHA stables. He would be 11, crouched in the dry brush, sneaking a cigarette. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. At the heart of the ranch was a movie set, a thoroughfare of a western boomtown, bank, saloon, blacksmith, wood-planked boardwalk, side streets and alleys, a jail. Perhaps the set dazzled Helen. Perhaps she, a prematurely arthritic woman, recalled the aching cold of Pennsylvania winters. Perhaps she spoiled her husband, as her children claim. Whatever the reason, Helen laid her hand on her husband's brow and said, "All right, George." And though by all accounts Helen came to like the ranch, on the day George took her out to view the property, for the first time her journal reads, "The property is quite expansive, surrounded by mountains. Gee, giddy as a boy. Not such a view as the beach, though. The road out is windy and narrow, sheer canyon walls on either side. Seems I am to be once again separated from the sea. And what a brief affair it was. Looking west, I feel a twinge like something had been taken from me, something a part of me, but never truly mine." Within a week of the Spahns' move up to 1200 Santa Susana Pass Road, Bottles the cat ran away. But George was more adaptable than Bottles, and luckier. In 1941, Westerns were still Hollywood's bread and butter. George ran his movie set like he'd run his dairy ranch, building strong relationships with decision-makers, underpricing the competition. It certainly didn't hurt business when Malibu Bluff State Recreation Area annexed Trancas Canyon and sold off its many sets, making Spahn's Ranch the only privately owned, and therefore zero-permit, outdoor set for 75 miles. The Spahns enjoyed a steady stream of business from the major studios, charging them a pretty penny to rent horses and shoot films at the ranch, among them High Noon, The Comstock Boys, and David O. Selznick's 1946 classic, Duel in the Sun, starring Gregory Peck. TV shows were also shot at the ranch.